Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
their
racing roots.
Sponsored by Jersey Cape Yachts.
Now here's our host, David Hamm.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm, right here on 550 AM, 92.9 FM, and DHammiam on YouTube. So if you're listening on the radio and you want to see us here live in the Randy Marion studio, just switch over to YouTube and you'll see us over there. Also want to thank our sponsor, Swimming Pool and Spa. There's Neil Johnson out there. He'll go over and change your pool liners, shock your pool, get it ready for the season, and he'll even be your own personal pool boy if you need one. So give him a call over there at Swimming Pool and Spa. We'll give you his number here in just a little bit. But we got in with us today. We got Rob Bolling. And tell us your friend's name here, too. I forgot. I'm sorry.
Well, it's Peter Brushy. He's our PR guru and,
all right.
and great driver of all things.
Peter Brushy. Looks like he's got good taste. He's got a nice hat. I like that Roval hat. And his shirt is really cool, too. So good first impression. You only get one chance to make one of those, you know.
That's right.
Did Rob tell you that before? I'm sure he's told you that.
He knows more about that stuff than I do. So trust me, that's the reason he's here. He's the reason we survived, but we'll get to that later on.
I see. He's the real deal. All right.
he's the power behind the, whatever you want to call it. It's not a throne. It's more of
he is a marketing machine or somewhat like that, right?
Yeah, he's a monster.
I run around the Southeast, Roots Racing, SCCA, all kinds of stuff, doing 30 events a year in my street car. So.
Oh, okay.
And preaching our gospel at every event.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I'm frequently referred to as the Jehovah's Witness of motorsport.
Oh, okay. You ought to explain that one a little bit more. Do you know a guy named Kyle Lockrow by chance? He does some of that. Well, anyway, he does some of the street car type racing things. But I know we're on to something else here. But
sure.
Anyway, I talked to him earlier. That's why I had it fresh in my mind. But we'll talk about him later. So you are here with M4Them, which is
motorsport for the masses.
Yep.
And it's a crazy concept that was grown out of my mind because I always wanted to go racing and never could. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was talking about racing routes and racing routes and how you got there. As a kid, I loved cars. Everybody loved cars. And one day I came home from school when I was about 13. And my dad had a bag packed for me. And he says, get in the car. I'm like, oh, God, I'm going to reform school or something.
Yeah.
And next thing we know, we hop in his car, and I don't know what's going on. We end up at his boss's house. We end up at his in his boss's RV, and I'm pretty good with geography, so I know we're headed south. We're on 85. We're going through Spartanburg. What's going on here? We pull into a gas station, and we're filling up, and there's a blue and red van on the other side of the island. And my dad's boss steps down out of the motorhome and says, hey, Richard, how you doing? And it was Richard Petty getting fuel in one of those iconic, blue and red vans.
You didn't say Petty blue van.
Okay.
No, I got you. That would have given it away too soon,
That would give it away too. See, there you go.
Yeah, I
got to wait for it.
Yeah.
But, that kind of like, well, wait a minute. We're headed south. Richard Petty's going somewhere. And I knew my dad's boss owned a couple of race cars, or he sponsored, I found out later. And I went to bed that night, parked behind this giant earth bank at what looked like a little World War II guard shack for a POW camp or something. In the morning when I woke up, we went through a tunnel, and out in front of us was the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Oh, nice.
And
cool place.
That's when I found out that not only did my dad's boss own a couple of race cars, or sponsor, it turns out in the end, that we were going to the race. And it just so happens that the race was 1980 Atlanta Journal 500. I was 13 years old, back a ways back.
Did you take your earplugs?
No, I don't know about no earplugs.
What?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, we get there, and he owned two baby grand cars.
Okay.
Which back they had just started calling the International Sedan Series, and Dean Hoopaw and Combs and all these guys were great in the series. But it turns out their regular driver was there, and they had built their second car that they put in mothballs. They brought out mothballs for this other driver, and his name was Bobby Labonte. Mm-hmm. Yep. 16 years old, never driven a race car before in his life. And so Apache Stove, who had sponsored Terry for his Southern 500 win, 2-3 months before were on the car for him. So it's just like today. You bring the sponsor, you get the ride. But he went out, and I spent that day living a dream. And I decided that's what I want to do the rest of my life. And it was so cool. We pushed the car up to the scales. And if you want to tell one funny anecdote, I'll tell. We pushed the car to the scales. Bobby Labonte's 16 years old. He's 5'3", 5'4". I'm as big as him at 13. And we roll up on the scales, and they say, you're 50 pounds light. So, okay. So a couple of guys go down, and they say, here, you stay with the car, and we'll be back with some lead or some whatever it was, some weight. Right. So I'm sitting there on the arm of the car, and I hear up behind me, hey, ain't that Labonte fellow boy's brother driving that car? And most people know that voice. That's Cale Yarborough. And my head whipped around, and now I'm looking at Cale Yarborough and Richard Petty, and they're talking to me like I'm somebody. Mm-hmm. So then they got the stains off the upholstery of the car that I left. No, I just.
Oh, yes, sir.
But no, and they came back with the lead, and, the guys dive in the car, and they're wrenching and turning and everything, and they get out of the car. We roll on the scale. Now you're 100 pounds light. Well, you just watched us put 50 pounds in it. Oh, get on across.
Yeah.
They pulled a 100-pound weight out when they put the 50 in.
Oh, yeah.
So here we go. We've got a 105-pound driver, and we're that much light, and ends up he went from like 7th to 3rd on the last lap and finished 3rd in the very first race of his life. Mm-hmm. And my job in that pit crew that day was to keep that car so wiped down with a red rag that a gnat couldn't bust its butt, is what I was told. But that was my intro to it.
Would you have to use SD20 or what?
No, man, it was just a plain old red rag, and it was just get the kid out of the way, keep him safe, and just let him be here,
Yeah.
But it made me want to do it so much that I did my senior class thing about NASCAR, and I was just sure I was going to work in it. And then I got married and had kids, and
there went that.
It was that simple.
For a little while.
Racing was gone for me until, believe it or not, the way I got back into racing and it kind of settled was sim racing. I was an early adopter, started with Indy 500, the first NASCAR titles that came out, then the 10 network. I don't know how far back you go.
What year would that have been?
1996, 1997.
Okay. Yeah, that's about when I was doing some of that sim racing on the computer.
Well, what we would do
my computer was choppy though.
We would go down to like Charlotte to the Marriott, or where was it? Tyvola Road, I remember. Mm-hmm. We went down there, and Dale Jr. would bring his stuff, and we would all meet up and land race together. That's when I first met Dale Jr. and got to race against him and stuff. Yeah. And
that LAN or not?
LAN, yes, like local area network. Yes. Okay. Everybody would hook their computer into a server there on the site.
Okay.
But anyway, that was the racing that I did, but I took it real serious. And then when iRacing came along, I guess they call it a founding member, very first. As soon as it was available, boom, I'm there. Had friends that were beta testers. And I took it serious, and I learned to race on iRacing.
Yeah.
And 900,000 races. And
so there's been some drivers in NASCAR that actually started out that way, and now they're NASCAR drivers. So what happened with you? I mean, you just decided you weren't going to do that?
Well, no, I just decided I wasn't going to worry about it. I mean, I was in my 40s, in my late 30s when iRacing came out, and I did okay. I've got some wins, and I've got hundreds of races. I've run second twice to Dale Jr.
Oh, yeah.
I've only raced with him twice, and I've run second twice, and he only beat us really bad because he's an alien. But no,
right.
In all seriousness, I just assumed I could never do it. And then one day I was at Virginia International Raceway for a Ford performance weekend, and they had a HPDE, a track day there.
Okay.
And I'd never heard or seen of a track day, and I kept watching these high-powered cars go flying by, making all this noise. And then these little cars would go up behind them going bzzz, but through the corners they would pass all the high-powered cars. This is really cool. So I go up to one of the guys, what is this? Well, it's a Mazda Miata. Oh, wow. What does it take to get one of these on the track and do this? I got about 4,000 in this car. My eyes went bing.
Wow. Is that a little rotary engine or what?
Nope. It's just a straight 4. Oh. The most raced car in the world, believe it or not.
Okay.
And so I set my sight on maybe trying to actually get out on the track and do something. And it went from buying a car in 2013 to organizing events in 2015 to by 2019, I'm now starting a company that teaches people how to drive race cars. And honest to God, I learned to do it sim racing.
Okay.
So but it's been crazy.
Do you still do it?
Oh yeah, we do it every weekend.
Okay.
I do a little sim racing here and there, but more than anything, we're still teaching people. But we fell into stock cars last year.
Okay. And so while our friends are tuned in, and we're going to tell you, we're going to jump back to this, what you're talking about now, but just tell them what you're doing right now with the cars on the track.
Right now with the cars on the track,
M4Them,
we will let you take your vehicle and we will teach you how to drive it. And we like to say, we'll teach you to drive it like you stole it and still get away. And what we'll do is we'll set up a very safe track that has no hard barriers, no concrete walls and stuff. And we will go out and teach you the basics of race driving with other cars there, passing the whole 9 yards in your car. But we do it at a speed that keeps it to interstate highway speeds at the top end.
Okay. So
that you learn everything that way. But what happened is we backed into stock cars, and that's what we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But
do you allow people to climb the fence? I just had to ask that.
Climb the fence?
It's an inside joke.
What fence?
Yeah.
There are no fences in what we do.
Oh, well, I thought Rockingham,
Well, now, yeah, that's our graduated step. The first thing we talked about, we call a short course driver's education. It gives you the basics. It teaches you the etiquette. It teaches you how to keep your head on the swivel so you don't ever have a wreck, so that okay, this car's faster, I need to let him by, or things like that. But then we do high-performance driver education, like we'll be there in April on the 1.5 mile Roval. And it's the full high-banked Rockingham experience plus the infield road course, just like the Roval at Charlotte, just on a smaller scale.
All right.
All of our drivers are paired with an instructor at every step of the way. So you get that opportunity to ride with somebody who's more experienced than you, and you just get that feedback from that driver.
Okay.
The big thing is our instructors. We want to make sure people understand the procedures to keep themselves safe.
Sure.
We'll get them faster later, but we want to get them safe so they can get out there and experience and kind of do it on their own. And then we come back and say, okay, now here's some things where we see we can help you get faster. And boy, then they just go crazy. Sure. Like, oh, wow, I never realized, Yeah. So it allows the experience to come to the person naturally.
My experience being in a stock car or race car was riding in I guess that was like the Richard Petty experience or Fast Track or one of those at Charlotte Motor Speedway, probably around 92. And I was in a passenger seat and we went around the track. And it felt like if there was a little rock on the road there, if we hit that, we were going to hit the wall. I mean, that's how tight and how grippy those tires are to the track. And I'm thinking, oh, are they going to slow down? We're going 145 miles an hour into the turn. My head's wanting to roll to the right, and I'm trying to kind of hold it. And finally, I just said, all right, heck with it. I'll just lay it against the roll bar, let it go. And man, but it was a wild ride. It was a lot of fun.
We give thrill rides. That's one of the things we do. And it's kind of cool because we got at Rockingham, they've got the Little Rock, which Hillenberg built so teams could practice. You probably know, being in the sport. And it's a little higher bank than Martinsville, but it's pretty cool. You get somebody in a car with you for a thrill ride, and you're going down into that corner, and it's the same as Martinsville. And you're rolling 85 or 90 miles an hour, and your foot's still on the floor when you turn in, and they're going, You see them going crazy.
Yeah.
But the cars are made to stick, and that's what we teach them to do.
Okay.
So, don't know where we're at if we're close to break time, but if we're not, I'll tell you about what we're doing at Rockingham.
Yeah, we got like 5 minutes to break.
Well, I can get through this.
Yeah.
Last year at one of our short course driver educations, I had a guy call me and say, hey, will you let a stock car come out there? And we talked about it. We thought about it. I'm like, yeah, we'll have to put you in a regular car to show you the procedures, if you don't have two seats. But, yeah, then you can drive it once you learn what's going on. And he came out and he drove it, and he enjoyed himself greatly. And he was with a bunch of other people, and he said, is there any way you can get us oval time? So I said, well, I'll see. I called my insurance company. I called Rockingham, and they said, yeah, we'll rent you the oval. Sure, come on. So we went out and we did our first high-performance driver education there, and we also opened it up to run some laps on the oval with these stock cars. And a couple of guys with Corvettes and our little race cars and stuff, little Mazdas. Yeah. But we actually ran some oval laps, and it worked out great. And then we ended up doing a car show for someone, and we managed the event. And I reached out and said, hey, you guys with stock cars want to come out and spend a couple hours driving on the track today? And we ended up with 23 registered stock cars for our first time. We said, hey, anybody want to do this? So what we've done is we've taken the concept of high-performance driver education, where you drive your car on a real racetrack, whether it be the Charlotte Roval, VIR, Rockingham Roval. In addition to doing that, now we're doing oval high performance driver education in cars that are appropriately set up for it.
Yeah, so that's cars with the roll cage, with the right
With
tires.
the roll cage. Now, we'll let you go out
safety.
there and do this, but these guys are taught you go 80%. One of the rules is if you spin and we don't see the oil you hit or we don't see the cut tire going up to the wall, you're done. I don't care if you paid $400. You've got to keep this thing under you. This is not racing. This is going out and experiencing, just like the Richard Petty experience, only you get to drive and there's no pace car and you got your buddies out there that you learn how to pass one another with an agreement.
Right.
And after we did that, we said, well, you know, people love to see these cars. We watched all these fans in the garage area. We're like, why don't we do something where people can come out and be among these guys in these cars, spend the time. These guys get to drive their cars on the track, and now they got spectators watching them. So let's see what we can do with this. And what it ended up is I realized, just like I go to a Gettysburg reenactment or the Guilford Courthouse reenactment, we're doing race reenactments.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because that kind of takes it back in time in a way to what a lot of the fans miss, especially nowadays.
Yeah,
you're missing the old days of NASCAR.
So, and I know you're coming up close to the break, but after we'll kind of give you, you know, we'd love to tell you what to expect at one of those type of events.
Yeah.
So,
well, it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. It sounds like it'd be something I'd like to go and jump in one of those.
Well,
Jim
come on.
Dooley's asking if he can bring his smart car.
See,
you can absolutely run a smart car at our short course events. We will get you out there and we will teach you how to drive that little thing to its limit.
There you go, Jim.
Yeah, he's got one of these little smart cars with the little trailer behind it. You know, so
yeah, man, all the Miata events we did, I did a lot of mountain driving Miata events before I got into the on-track stuff. And a lot of folks that got those little two-wheel trailers painted up just like the car. Yeah. It's a crazy culture, the whole Mazda Miata culture. It's
I'm sure.
Really cool.
I can imagine.
It's kind of like the Mustang culture.
Yep. We're weird too.
Tracy, do you want to say hey to some of our friends tuned in?
Okie dokie.
Right quick here.
So we've got Scott Trevison tuned in. We've got Dickie Dennis. Joseph Wright says, hey, M4Them family, looking good.
Hey, Joe, thank you.
I guess y'all know him because it says M4Them.
Yeah, might know him a little bit.
Okay.
He might be my logistics coordinator.
Yeah, there you go.
Dargan Watts is tuned in.
Hey, Dargan.
Mr. Cratchity's turned in.
Yeah, Will Cronkite.
Super Jason's tuned in. Judy Brutch. How do you say that?
Brooke. Yeah,
Brooke
hey,
is
Judy.
turned in. And Jim Dooley.
Mr. Leland Johnson. Do you see him?
Did I not say him?
Oh, it's all right. It's
Sorry.
okay. No, you're fine. We're, Scott's tuned in from the World Center Racing down there in Daytona area. And Dickie Dennis and Jim Dooley are both up in Virginia. I'll point up, north of here.
Sure.
So, all right, we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm.
Once known as the liquor capital of the world, award-winning handcrafted whiskeys are again being produced in Statesville's first licensed distillery since 1903. Southern Distilling invites you to come for a tour, tasting, or even cocktails, and enjoy true grain-to-glass distilling in one of the Southeast's largest distilleries. Open Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday, 12 p.m. to
550 and 92.9 WAME.
And we're back to Racing Roots with Hamm, right here on 550 AM, 92.9 FM, and DHammiam on YouTube. And we're live in the Randy Moran studio. And if you'd like to tune in and see us here live, you can go on to DHammiam and see us here. I got Rob Bolling and with me and his let's see, would it be PR marketing guru, Kenneth, what was your name again? Pete Brook.
Pete Brushy.
Brushy. Sorry. I'm going to write that down. Pete. Yeah, I got it. Actually, it's in here now.
It looks like the football player Brewski, but it's actually Brushy.
But when I'm at the bar, I'm Brewski.
Yeah, so. He's Brewski at the bar. Yeah. Something like that.
Pete has a good radio voice.
I've got a good radio face.
Yeah,
he's got a good radio voice.
You beat me to that.
Well, sorry, man.
You got a face for it. No, I'm just kidding. You're good. So yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to you afterwards. You could come in here and hang out with me sometime and talk about whatever.
That'd be fantastic.
Yes. So all right, back where we were at the let's see, Jordan Mamera.
We know Jordan.
Okay.
A bit.
So it says M4Them is the best racing family I've been part of.
Thank you, Jordan.
I guess because I have an eye issue. Like my left eye is like a microscope, my right eye is a telescope. And when I put my glasses on,
you got to get it just right in between, huh?
Yeah, it's like I have to have my head just right, my tongue hanging out just right, and all that kind of stuff. So
Jordan and I took a driving school together. It was my first event in my Mustang 3 years ago. So we go back quite a ways, and he's been a great help to building motorsport for the masses.
Cool. Where was that school at?
That was at Darlington.
Okay. Man, Darlington. It's a cool place.
You know, I'll go into what's going on with the carb stuff here in a minute, but what motorsport for the masses is and what it grew out of is when I did get that Miata and I wanted to go race it, what I found was to do track days or HPDE, it's a pretty significant, or can be a pretty significant investment to get the car safe, to get it out on track.
And the risk, too. You could bend that thing pretty easy on a track.
You kill yourself.
Well, who owns the cars?
We do.
Okay. So, I thought that, but I'm thinking.
Well, no, I mean, each individual driver owns their own car.
Yeah.
Now, we have a company car that's a little 83 horsepower race car that's a momentum beast, but it sticks like you can't imagine. Mm-hmm. But people bring their own cars out. But the thing with it was I still couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to put an extra $4,000 in the car for all the safety gear to go do a time trial or a high-performance driver education. Mm-hmm. But autocross didn't fit me well either because I'm diabetic, and standing out in the sun for 2.5 hours to drive for 4 minutes wasn't my thing. So when I finally did do some HPDEs and realized that, wow, this is cool, but it could be done more economically and better to get the drivers better because there was some dangerous stuff going on around me.
Yeah.
And I have a great self-preservation instinct. And
good for you.
So I said, you know what? Nobody's done it, but can it be done? So that's what we did. Is we lowered the bar of entry. So instead of having to spend $1,000 to go see if you can drive like a race car driver or see if you have the skills to really high performance drive, we've got it where the entry fee basically is, if you got $150, some good brake pads and some quality tires, as long as your car's not a rollover risk, we can teach you how to drive it like a race car. And then you can decide, do we want to continue up with the progression? Is this something I want to do? I couldn't do that at the time. You know, I just still had a kid about to go to college, grandbabies. I was like, I can't afford it. All I can do is autocross because it is so cheap. And so we said, let's build that path. And what we found is the culture that's been created is unbelievable. That's what Jordan was speaking to. Okay.
Yeah. So we were talking about the race at Charlotte, the Trans Am series, and some of these other cars that were out there, and they had the I don't remember the guy's name that had the Mountain Dew car. Well, I say Mountain Dew. It was the Mountain Dew before it was Marty Robbins' car.
Sure.
You know, eventually Marty Robbins bought it in 1982, and then he changed it into his car, the famed 22 purple and yellow car that he drove, until he passed away at the end of December 82, I believe it was. And so that guy right there, is he involved in this at all? Is that the type of car that you would see?
I don't know what you're talking about. The guy that we're talking about, he goes by the name of Stringfellow Hawk, but his name is Jeff Cini, and he has a 1973 Marty Robbins car.
Oh, okay.
That is gorgeous. A few weeks ago, we were we were doing a test and tune day for this CARBS series, we call it, which is Classic American Racing Barnstormer series. So like the old Barnstormer guys bought up all the planes in World War I and came and put on shows for people.
Yeah.
These are people that bought up used old stock cars, restored them, did a tribute. Not all of them have the chassis numbers matching everything, but they get to go out and they get to experience what it was like to drive these cars on their tracks. And this guy bought this Marty Robbins car, and he was out there last week chasing and being chased by a 1973 Richard Petty car.
Okay.
And that was one of the coolest things you will ever see. We'll make sure we send you the pictures of those two cars on the track together.
Sure.
Because that's what this is all about. It's so you can go out there, even though you were 3 years old when it happened or weren't even born yet, you can go watch David Pearson chase Richard Petty around Rockingham Speedway.
I had only dreamed about being able to see these cars. I'm 26 years old, so I'm kind of an old soul, and I gravitate toward this stuff, being a classic car guy too, and loving the old racing stuff. But I got an opportunity to drive that Ricky Rudd Piedmont number 3, and oh my goodness, I had only been able to do this in the sim to be among, David Pearson and Richard Petty, and there's these cars on the track. I'm driving, different eras of cars, but I'm driving amongst these cars, and I'm just getting goosebumps. In addition to being, having my feelings shaken out by this stock car.
Oh yeah,
it was just something I never imagined I'd be able to
And that's really where it all branched from. Again, we were watching people taking picture after picture after picture, and all these kids that are 8 years old standing beside these 1980 era race cars, 1960 era race cars. There's a guy that had a Dick Trickle Torino big block there. It was just unbelievable. Keith Sultana is his name. And hopefully he's going to get to come back to this one. We don't know. But these guys come from all over the country to do this. We got them coming from New Jersey.
Texas.
They come from all over just to get their cars out on the track and drive. So we're like, we saw that happening. We got to get this out there for the public. So if you come to one of our events, the garage opens up at 6 o'clock for the competitors. We do an inspection. We've got actually Jimmy Hensley. His nephew is our chief inspector, Thomas Hensley. He has a wealth of knowledge being from the Hensley family about race cars. He inspects everybody's cars, makes sure they're safe. There's no rules. You can run a 55 Chevy with a big block beside a 1984 Harry Gant car if you want to. Whatever you want to do, you're just coming out there to drive. And everybody goes out together. And then we'll have practices. Then there's a qualifying after lunch. And then we do a happy half hour, we call it, where they get to go back out. And then we do an exhibition race. Pure exhibition. They are not. I am a promoter that says I'm not going to hype something that's not there. You're not going to know who's going to win. The only people that's going to know who's going to win is going to be those top 5 qualifiers that pulled a pill. And whoever got one, y'all make sure he wins, but make it fun to watch. Yeah. And nobody's going to know until the end of the 30 laps or 40 laps, whatever it ends up being. That's one of the things we ran into with these old cars is they can't go forever.
Sure, yeah.
It's not like they can go a full fuel stop.
And the drivers,
And the
too.
drivers.
Yeah.
We go out there and we give them 2 hours of track time in the day, and I think maybe 3 guys took us up on the full 2 hours, and the rest of them were like, oh, no, we're
Dennison
good.
in the Newman car, he'll drive forever.
Young guy named Cody Dennison. He drives a Ryan Newman car from the, I guess, early 2000s.
It's a Gen 5 car.
Gen 5 car. He'll go out there and he'll
Wicked. We got to rein him in sometimes.
Yeah, he gets
He's
about
the hot shoe.
We tell him run 80%. Sometimes he's at 81, 82. So we have to remind him 80%. But he's a good guy, and everybody that comes out there are great folks, and it's been good. And there's a local group of guys that got together that the gentleman who first approached me about the stock cars was with, called Stock Car Classics, and they're an owners group. Guys that own these cars that are looking for places to go do it. So it's worked out well because they can help each other make sure the cars are ready, and we can give them a place to race.
So Scott Trevison's asking, is this similar to the SCVR racing with Scott Borchetta?
SVRA, maybe the vintage organization.
Yeah, it is similar to vintage racing, with one extra caveat to it. The vintage racing has pretty strict car rules. And when you do run together, it's still a gentleman's race. You're not going to tear each other's stuff up, so you're going to be real careful. And it's not a lot of wheel to wheel, push somebody kind of
Door
race.
to door, right?
With ours, because so many of these are museum pieces, it's a gentleman's agreement that, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to run in packs and we're going to give you great opportunities to see, hear, and smell what it was like in the 70s and 80s. But we're not going to take a chance on hurting each other.
Right.
And plus, these guys aren't made of money. This is for the other guys. That's why my company's called For the Masses.
Right.
I'm for everybody else that doesn't have the ability to open their pocketbook up. That's one of the reasons we a whole day, well, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., it's $20 to come in. You get it 2 hours of garage pass out of that while the event's going on, while the cars are there, not when it's over. Then you get to come back to the garage after it's over. If you want to do one of the bigger packages, it was going to be $80 because we couldn't get the T-shirts made in time with all the crazy lingering from COVID, getting stuff done. Yeah. For like $80, you can come out there. You can get track laps in your own car behind a pace car. You get an all-day garage pass. So at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock when it opens, until the garage closes, you've got a garage pass all day. We'll do 100 of those. And like I said, that gets you pace laps in your car, preferred parking, you get the garage pass all day, and then we do a VIP where you'll also get to talk to the legends, which is one of the things we haven't hit on. Will Cronkite is going to be there with his book signing, and he loves to talk to people and hang out with people and talk racing, and he's going to be there that day. And I've gotten to know Will a little bit over the last few weeks, and he is a super good guy with some unbelievable stories.
Oh yeah.
And just I would love to just have him hold court for a while. I mean, to me, that's worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
And we're also having as guests of honor the family of J.D. McDuffie. They're working on a mural down in Sanford. They're trying to do some fundraising. We invited them out, and we've told them, if you can get some tribute cars or some cars some people have, please bring them out and to display them. And they're going to be out there talking to fans and talking about what they're trying to do and selling some memorabilia and stuff like that, trying to raise money for their mural. But it's the next best thing you can have. We can't bring him back, and I'll never forget. And I've always been the underdog, so I've always pulled for the underdog. And JD and Dave Marcus, GC Spencer. I mean, all those guys that go way back to just when I was first starting out. I mean, to me, I always pulled for those guys, you know. I mean, I was a Labonte fan, obviously, because the first introduction I had was Labonte, but he was still an underdog his first 3 years, waiting for Hagen to do something.
Yeah. Well, those are the guys that would go out there with the older trucks and use, and maybe even bum some tires off of some of the other drivers at times.
Oh, yeah.
I
mean, Dave Marcus, where would he have been without Earnhart's friendship?
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
They took care of each other.
Yeah.
It was a good era, and we're just wanting to let people re-smell, re-see, rehear that era, and just be a part of the history and get in among it. And we're trying to make it accessible to as many people as we can.
Yeah,
So, and that's the only other thing you get with the VIP is you'll get a private or a exclusive lunch with the folks that come, like Will and the McDuffies and stuff like that, and everything like that.
Yeah, you said that wasn't Donnie Ellison at the last one, or one of them. Mm-hmm. He was at Rockingham.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the weekend I almost come down.
I wish you had. I really do. And
yeah, I talked about it, and then I was like, all right, I got to get a lot of stuff done. I was just going to show up. I was actually going to call Will. She had to work that day, and I was going to call up Will and say, well, he's down in South Carolina, and so I'm right up here. And so I was like, all right, where could we meet that I could just ride the rest of the way with him? That kind of thing.
Not on 77 anywhere.
No, I mean, it would have been in 74 somewhere, probably meet him down in Wadesboro or something, but it's like still.
We did lunch with some folks up here at the barbecue, Lancaster's in Mooresville. And then I had to go to Will's from there. Oh. And it should have taken an hour and 15 minutes.
No, man.
Took a lot longer than that.
Oh, yeah. You go down 77, forget it.
Yeah.
And, the traffic is the most hard, and then coming back, it depends on what time of day, whatever. I'm glad I don't have to make that drive anymore because I lived in South Charlotte and drove to Mooresville every day to go to work.
And there is no way to get to Mooresville.
Man, no.
And that was probably in the pre-150 is concrete parking lot days.
Yeah, that was around around 95, 96.
Yeah,
around that time. So yeah, when we first moved up here from Charlotte. I was with Kyle Petty's team there about Sabco back in the day.
Okay.
And we moved from Charlotte.
You might be as old as me.
Yeah, probably so. 51. Wow.
You're not as old as
not
me.
Quite, no.
He might recognize one of the cars that's been to our cars event.
Yeah, we had one of the 42 Meliellos there.
Oh yeah, I love that car. That's probably one of my favorites. That is
I believe so.
Okay.
The 42 Meliello car, that is my all-time favorite, and the Haviland car.
But is that the one
Those
that
two.
when Gary Nelson ended up going to work for NASCAR that he told Sabatis, just don't even bring it? I've heard a story about that.
It is. Yep. That's right. And who else would to get Gary Nelson, to do to catch cheaters than Gary Nelson?
You hire the number one cheater, man. I'm surprised. Never mind. I won't say that.
Well, and maybe we won't call it cheating. It's more like, there's
Bending the rules.
Yeah, bending the rules.
Creative
Thinking outside the box.
interpretation.
Yeah, that's it.
They've kind of taken that away now, but
I've got a rule. Well, I have it somewhere. It's a NASCAR rule book, and you open it up. It's this small. You open it up, and there's nothing on the pages inside. You just write it as you go, pretty much.
and it says it right here.
Yeah, that's
But
it.
yeah, if you got anything else you want to talk about or know about, great. If not, I'll gladly yield to your other guests. And it sounds like they got some.
Yeah, we're getting close to that time, but so how can people get a hold of and find more information about if they want to get involved, if they want to go out to the track and know when the events happen? M4Them.
It's M4Them.com. It's that simple.
Yeah.
The letter M, the number 4, THEM. Motorsport for the masses with the number. And that's our email address too, M4Them@gmail.com. We have a Facebook presence, obviously, that you can go through the website to get to everything. We have our links to all of our tickets and stuff like that there. But if you want to get involved as a driver, if you have an old stock car, it has to be safe. It has to be in good running condition. But there are no rules that you have to follow for cubic inches or anything like that. It just have to have at least the safety gear that era had. We have a gentleman, his name is Marshall Griffin, and he owns one of the most famous cars there is. Griffin Motors, back in the day, they were the very first entry blank for the Southern 500. And Paul Goldsmith, the oldest living NASCAR driver, drove the car for them, and he makes appearances with them. And they bring that car out, and it's they bring a couple of different ones, 49 and a 50. It has only racing lap belts, but that's all it's got to have. But it's also not allowed to go out with the cars that are, well, it can go out for practice, but if we're going to do a mock race or something, then it would be in what we would call the parade group, where it just goes out there and we don't actually, so here they come.
So there is an age limit, right?
Yes, there is. If you have a driver's license, you can come do our short course drivers events, and you have to be 18 to do the no, you don't have to be 18. You have to have a driver's license to do high performance driver education as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Now that I've said that, I'm sure my insurance company goes, oh, no.
Well,
But to drive the stock cars, you have to either be licensed by an official racing organization. We had a young man that's got a USAC license that was asking about driving, and we talked to the insurance company, and we talked to the speedway, and everybody agreed. Well, if he's got a competition license from a racing organization, he can come out and do exhibition laps at 80%, no problem.
Yeah. But there's also an age limit on cars too, right? I mean, as far as if you got an old car that looks like the wheels might fall off at any time.
No. It's all about safety.
Mechanical condition.
Condition.
Right.
If you want to drive your street car, it's got to have quality tires. It can't have any leaks that we can see, nothing dragging off of it, nothing hanging off of it. We have a tech sheet that the way our tech work is we send you the sheet, and you either have a garage do it if you're not qualified, or if you're a mechanic and you're qualified, it's an affidavit saying, hey, I took care of everything on this checklist, that it does have non-leaking brakes, it does have good brake pads, it does have good this. And then when they get it to us, we just do a visual. We're like, okay, we're trusting you on the inside. You're taking that responsibility, but we just got to make sure there's nothing on the outside that's like somebody could say, "Oh, any fool could see it was
you got
leaking
a flat
oil.
Tire,
Any fool could see it had bald tires."
Cord
we
showing.
make sure those things that are obvious and clear. But if you've got everything together, bring it. You can run it. And when it comes to stock cars, it's just got to have the safety gear it had at the time. Because we're running at slower speeds. On the short tracks, we're probably never going to require Hans. We're rethinking like Rockingham next year or this fall when we do our Rockingham event. We may have to require Hans.
More is better.
Yeah, more is better. Sure. We recommend a Hans, and we recommend a fire suppression system. But if you've got a working extinguisher in your car, that's all you have to have, because that's all they had to have back in the 60s and stuff like that for the older cars.
Yeah.
But that 1949 model car gets out there and mixes it up with them, man. He
does his laps. Yeah.
He puts his laps in, and it's neat because the Griffins have a guy that drives it for him. And I mean, it's just everything about it is so cool. It's like stepping back in time. And, I'm a big war buff, and I've always wanted to go to like a World War II reenactment. I've been to Civil War reenactments. I've been to American Revolution reenactments, like out at the Guilford Courthouse and stuff. And I just always loved seeing the period, seeing the people in the tents. Yeah. Well, that's what we're doing here. If things go well and we get to keep doing these events, which we have 5 on the schedule this year, we have Rockingham, and then we've got Motor Mile Speedway in Virginia. We've got Dominion Speedway in Virginia, as long as that one still is a go. And then we're going to go to Southern National Motorsports Park outside of Raleigh, and then come back and finish the season in Rockingham. If all that happens before the year's over, you're probably going to see all the officials wearing the 1970s and 80s looking officials outfits. We want to make this thing a true living history event, that you come out, bring your kids. It's $5 a piece for kids. Drop a 20 and have 5 or 6 hours of just walking back in time and enjoying yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. Sounds like a really good time, and feel like you're back in the day.
Yeah,
that's always good.
And of course, you're invited.
Yes,
come on out.
All right,
we'll have a good time.
The next one's what, April 24th?
April 23rd is the Classic American Racing, the stock car exhibition, living history
the time
event.
Machine.
The time machine. Mm-hmm. And then on Sunday, if you are so inclined, we can get you out there and teach you how to drive your non-rollover car. So you can't bring your Jeep, you can't bring your minivan. Yeah. But if you've got an Impala or a Nissan Sentra, a Toyota Corolla, they're totally suited for this. We get you more information, and we would recommend you change like your brake fluid, and go to a .4 brake fluid. Yeah. Something like that.
Make sure you don't have any antifreeze coolant leaks.
Precisely.
It'll be a big one too.
We're pretty good at that though. We had a guy antifreeze down the entire track, which normally you don't have antifreeze in race cars.
Yes, exactly.
But because these are street cars, when he popped that hose on his BMW, and there was plenty of antifreeze in it. It's great though. Yeah. We got it up in 15 minutes. But did you know once you get the Speedy Dry on it, it gets sticky. It's like PJ1 then for a little while.
It's like we meant for it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But we hope everybody that can will come out and enjoy this, and we know the drivers that bring their cars out appreciate the fans, especially the kids that get out there and want to take their pictures and kind of sit in it and get their picture. It just means so much to them, and that means so much to these guys that are out there doing it. So
because they're living the dream too.
Oh yeah, they're getting to
play
race car driver.
We haven't had any. Have we had any really famous race car drivers out yet that have?
Bill Blair, he's a local type guy, but he's been in talks with us, and we hope to maybe get him to come and get involved in it at some point.
But we'd love to see anybody who's got a car.
No, there's a gentleman that ran in the very first race in Rockingham that was there that day, and I cannot remember his name.
Well, talking about Bill Blair, his dad won Daytona in 1953.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. I mean,
the road and beach course.
I got fortunate enough. There's a real good group of guys that we don't talk about, but they meet every now and then just to talk and hang out. And Bobby Allison's one of them, and there's a guy named Colbert Seagraves that runs the museum up in Winston-Salem. He's the executive director of the Winston Cup Museum.
Okay, the one they just opening back up.
They're opening back up, and we're going to have a couple of the drivers are going to be there, and we'll have a presence there for that. And so we got fortunate enough to get involved with them, and so we're hoping we can get a little more involved and start getting some recognition for some of these truly pioneering drivers. To where they get to go out and they get to meet people and tell their stories again. And so hopefully that'll work out that it can. But I'm going to tell you, I'm a better person for having met these people. Sure.
And get the insight too. They've been doing some incredible events over the years for so long.
It's just crazy. And the stories like Dickie Gore, who used to own Dominion Speedway back when it was the old Dominion Speedway. He was there, and I mean, just to meet people like that has been incredible for me. And we just want to help other people get to meet folks like that.
Sure, yeah. So, well, absolutely. Thank y'all so much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, Pete and Rob. Pete Brushy, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, which is almost my neighbor, I guess.
Yeah,
down the street.
Same street.
Yeah. Small world.
It's a small world. No,
And-
we're not
and-
going
and-
there.
yeah, we
We'll
don't have
get
to do
trapped
that.
in that one with my
We'll have to get
grandkids.
together and check out our Fords.
Yeah, for sure. Come on up. Yeah,
Tractors and all.
I was out driving the 57 T-Bird, and I met his mom down the road because last time I was driving it, I saw them, but I couldn't really stop. I mean, I was working on the brakes and all this stuff. Anyway, that's another story. But this time I actually stopped.
Do you
'cause I
know
was
they have
getting
3
to test them.
classic Fords in their garage?
Hey, what about my Capri? That's not a classic for you?
Well, I'm talking
Yeah.
about the Bronco,
Yes.
the Mustang,
Oh.
and then what's that truck?
33 pickup with
33
flathead.
pickup truck with flathead.
Okay, it must be something about the neighborhood there because Mike Nieder up the road, he has his classic Fords, his
Yes.
Bronco, and
Y'all need to
Daytona,
Ed
and,
across the street, he's got a couple Fords.
yeah, and
Talk about a
Fairlane.
block party y'all could have.
Yeah, Ed
We
up
could have
there.
our own Ford only car show.
Ford
Yeah.
big block party. Anyway,
Have a parade.
That was bad.
All
that
right.
was a dad joke.
All right, so next coming up next, we're gonna have Mark Smitty Smith. So we'll have him on here in just a few minutes after these messages, and we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm.
With more than 20,000 students, Iredell Statesville schools rank among the 20 largest school districts in North Carolina. Our teachers represent a wealth of knowledge, with the average teacher in our district having 15 years of teaching experience. Iredell Statesville Schools' innovative approach blends a one-to-one technology initiative with collaborative best practices and a hands-on approach to learning. In addition to traditional school settings, the district provides a wide range of exciting educational opportunities through our choice programs, specifically designed for unique student needs. No matter your age, your background, or your personal goals, there's a place for you in the Iredell Statesville schools.
Do you wish your gym did more for you? As you're working out, do you wish there was a better variety of equipment, a cleaner facility, and machines that actually work? Well, my friend, there's a new gym in town called Crush It Coliseum, where all your equipment dreams are met with hand-picked and custom pieces. Come join us for an unmatched atmosphere on 1417 Wilkesboro Highway in Statesville, North Carolina, where your first workout is on the house. Mention WAME, we'll waive your initiation.
WAME Radio and on DHammiam on YouTube, Racing Roots with Hamm. Go on there and check it out. You can see us here live in the Randy Marion studio. And we got some of our listeners on here that we haven't mentioned yet. Philip Riot is tuned in. And hello to you. And Scott Trevison's down in Florida. And the World Center of Racing, matter of fact, near Daytona. And Paul Rodriguez is in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And so all of our other friends that are tuned in, y'all just be ready to ask some questions and make some comments or whatever here, because we got Mark Smith, better known as Smitty. That's what I remembered you as, Smitty, because you had the body shop.
Smitty's Motorsports.
Yeah,
Sure did.
yeah, right beside Roush Yates Engines. For how many years were that shop there?
16 years.
16 years, okay. That's how long I was at Roush Yates.
Yeah.
So how about that? And I took an old Mustang GT convertible over to you and had y'all paint it. Did a real nice job on it.
Thank you.
It was a light blue. It turned out real pretty car. And before I sent it out to Myrtle Beach, where it ended up going to. Yeah. So you were also involved with Don Miller over there. Well, you've got the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame shirt on.
Yes. Done a lot of work with Don Miller.
Yeah. He's a good
friend
guy.
of mine.
Sure. Yeah, he's great. And I'm sure he loves your children's Dream Racers.
He does, and he's helped me over the years. He's done interviews and podcasts in the past, and I thought I was going to get him to come with me tonight, but he bagged off.
Oh, did he?
So,
he said, "I've already done that." Tell him I said hello.
He's already
maybe,
been
hopefully.
here.
yeah, that's what he said. He came and talked about his stocks for tots.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. He invited us down. We did the Stocks for Tots this past December, and we're going to come back again this coming December.
Yeah, that's his
baby
deal for kids.
It is.
It really helps kids.
Yeah.
David, I want to thank you for having me on, and thank you for having a big heart to want to help kids in hospitals.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. That's I came here in '88, hoping to get a job in racing.
Yeah. Where'd you come from?
Florida.
From Florida.
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Okay.
Yep. Wasn't too successful at landing a job. Didn't know the right things to say, and never worked on race cars, but I knew I wanted to. So I went to work at the junkyard building wrecks, Wayne's Automotive.
Wayne's Automotive. Where have I heard that?
Out on Highway 3.
Okay.
Out past Earnhardt's.
Yeah.
And I worked there a couple of years, and Don Miller come in one day, him and Dave Roberts. If you know who Dave Roberts is, he's a cousin to Fireball Roberts.
Okay.
Dave needed a bed for an old dually, and Miller says, you do any work at home? He knew I was the body man there, and I said, yeah. And they spotted an old 36 Ford I was driving, and they wanted to measure my radiator to see they were building a 35. And so he said, you going to do any work at home on old cars? And I said, well, yeah, I hope to. I'm building a new shop. So one thing led to another. I've had Don Miller's cars for 20 years working on them. His old relics and classics and race cars. Anything he could send me to do, he did. I done a lot of the cars over there at the Hall of Fame Museum for him.
Did you ever paint anything for Tracy's dad?
Who's Tracy's dad? Who is that?
Kenny Thompson.
You know, I met Kenny one time at the halfway house, at Don Miller's halfway house, but don't know that I ever did anything for him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of GT40s that he's contracted work out for.
Yeah. I met him, but don't think I ever did anything for him.
Yeah.
What else you want to talk about?
Well, so you so is that how you ended up getting the shop beside Roush Yates?
Well, no. The deal was, while I was doing Miller's old cars, he stopped in one day and he said, "Hey, we're starting a truck team," and he said, "You want to paint the race trucks for us?" I said, "Yeah, I guess so." So they started bringing me the race truck, and we done that. Ricky Johnson, Kenny Wallace drove it. They switched off, and then he comes and said, "Hey, Big Joe needs you to help him drive the hauler out west." So I did that. Anytime it was over 10 hours away, I drove the hauler with Big Joe.
Okay, Big Joe. His name's come up on the show before.
And I don't know why I can't think of his last name at the moment. But,
Yeah.
He actually drove the hauler for Harry Gant, the Skull car.
That's where it was. Gail Wilson was on our show, and he was talking about Big Joe. And then Big Joe's wife went back and watched the show, and she was crying listening to the stories about Big Joe.
Big Joe, the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Just a big old lovable teddy bear guy. Big Joe.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
So I drove the hauler, and anyway, when I got back, wasn't too long, they sold the Red Dog truck team to, went to Ice House Beer was the sponsor.
Okay, yeah.
So I went back home, went back to work in my shop doing old restorations and wrecks or whatever. Well, pretty soon here come a race team wanting the car painted, and another guy brought a big armload of templates and a race car, said fit these templates and paint it. And first thing you know, I had too much work to do. I was hiring people, outgrew that little shop at home, and moved to town. So
yeah. Well, and so then you ended up working in one part of that shop.
Yeah, the first part of the shop I rented at 119 Rolling Hill Road there at Lakeside. I rented the front 3,000 square feet and put in a paint booth. Wasn't long, Andy Belmont was next door, had 6,000 square feet, and he moved out, and we rented that to do the Bondo work and the templates and all that. So we did that for a little while, and then the next section became available. We rented that and put in another paint booth. One promise that we had was we were going to be busier tomorrow than we were today.
Yeah.
To the point that we worked 32 people, 2 shifts a day on race cars.
Wow.
Yeah.
And from the beginning of the race cars, they really didn't want to let the race cars out of their shop. They were very secretive. I signed non-compete deals and letters of agreement to not share anything about the race cars to other teams and stuff. So,
yeah.
So it went from that to here's this car, Smitty. It's a super speedway car. It's an intermediate car. Just do your thing,
Yeah.
and they'd leave it and run.
And you also did a lot of stuff for Ralph Yates engines.
Yeah, Robert Yates, good friend of mine, was. Anything that they didn't want to do or the overflow work, they sit next door. I was right next door to them all them years.
Mark Hayes.
Mark Hayes, good guy. Painted all their work benches where they rebuild the engines and on everything over there that was painted, I painted.
Yeah,
we painted.
That gray paint.
That old chassis gray paint.
You know what I was going to ask if you know what the number is on that.
Yeah, I don't remember it right now. It depends on which paint company we was using.
Yeah, right.
But
yes. All right. So you ended up you had pretty much the full building after everybody moved. Andy Belmont called in a few weeks ago.
Oh, did he?
He just called up and talked to us for a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Surprised us. Yeah.
That's great. Andy Belmont's a good guy. I actually bought several different race cars from Andy for people that were looking for a race car, but I bought them. We had a big show car business. PPC Racing had a show car business, fab shop, and Bob Campbell was running that. And I don't know if Bob got sick or something, but he left, and they wanted to sell that stuff and sell all the business of it. So we bought it and rented the back building, was 5,000 square feet, along with the other that we had.
Yeah.
So we had a full fab shop, show cars, orders to do, on and on.
How many hours a week did you work?
Oh,
quite a few.
90, 95. Yeah.
Hey, when you work in racing, I've always asked people, or like when you get out of racing, it's like, okay, you work somewhere, you're working 40 hours, but it's like, okay, what else can I do for the other 40 hours? You know, you just get used to working that many hours, right?
Well, like Larry Penn, our old crew chief of the Red Dog truck, said, man, when are we going to quit? He said, we've only worked half a day.
Yeah.
Said, Bennett got here 6 this morning at 6 o'clock. He said, that's half a day.
That's it. That's right.
So,
yeah.
I told him one time I was repairing a truck that we wrecked in Portland, Oregon, putting a tailgate panel in it. And I said, you know, you ought to get us an awning to go inside this trailer so we could work in the shade. He said, you see that bill on your cap? That's your awning. Keep working. So,
Yes.
oh, Larry Penn.
Yeah. Well, because you're at the racetrack, you don't have that shade. So,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's right.
Yeah. Very good. So what did you work on today? Getting ready for coming on the show?
Actually, my lady friend, Carla Dixon,
Hey, Carla.
is placing a Dream Racer in our Arkansas Children's Hospital, and just picked it up from Dig Graphics. JD, who's Hornaday's nephew, Ron
Okay.
Hornaday's.
Yeah.
He put the graphics on it today. We loaded it up in the trailer to take it back to Arkansas with us. That's pretty much what we planned today. That and made my cheat sheet notes.
Yeah, that's good. I figured you probably did, but because we met for lunch the other day. But the Dream Racers thing. All right, I was watching a video. I actually showed it one to Tracy last night. And, every time you watch a video of a child getting in one of those cars, it brings tears to your eyes.
It does.
I can't imagine.
Tell everybody what a Dream Racer is that's not listening or that's listening and doesn't really know what it is exactly.
A Dream Racer is a steel body, steel roll cage race car that's on casters with brakes, doesn't have a running engine, has a PlayStation under the hood, a TV with a DVD player, race car seat, safety harness, window net, spoiler, splitter, all the graphics and logos and decals, but it has an oxygen bottle and an IV pole. Little cancer kids take their chemotherapy sitting in a Dream Racer.
Okay.
It takes all the anxiety out of their hospital
Right.
visits. A quick story. Little girl came in kicking and screaming. This was in Columbia, South Carolina. She was getting a kidney biopsy, and she got up to the second floor. She seen the Dream Racer, and she played in it. She went in and got her biopsy, and nothing would do her to come back and play in it again. Told her mom on the way home she'd be glad when she come back for her operation so she could play in the Dream Racer. So it just took all the fear, all the anxiety, all their little problems of icky treatments they have to take. Yeah. So, and it's story after story. ESPN done a special on the Dream Racers a few years back, and it was a big hullabaloo. And the reason being, Rick Hendrick and Jimmy Johnson placed 4 Dream Racers at Levine Children's Hospital in Charlotte.
Okay.
And so, forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah. So the Hendricks is involved in.
Yeah, Hendricks
helping
did,
with
but
that.
anyway, when the big deal was over, the cameraman, the ESPN cameraman, said, "Smitty, let me see you a minute." And I said, "Okay." He said, the other day when I was filming the little girl whose name was Lauren Turner, he said a lady came in with a little boy, cutest, handsomest little guy you ever saw. And I spoke to him, and the lady spoke to me, but the little boy didn't speak. And she apologized for it. The little boy said he has autism, and he's an expressionless child.
Right.
He don't smile, he don't cry, he don't, nothing.
Right.
So pretty soon the Dream Racer come empty, and he got in a Dream Racer, and pretty soon he's smiling and gesturing to his mother about that race car.
That's cool.
So just brought him right out of his shell. That's what the Dream Racer does for kids. I've been to hospitals, you couldn't see the car for the kids, climbing all over.
Right.
I've got one picture of a little boy with a big smile on his face and his hat's on backwards. Cutest little guy. And I have a caption to it, which is true. He's smiling because it's his turn next in the Dream Racer. He's wearing the cap because he's hiding.
Hiding his bald head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What chemotherapy's done to him, you know.
So whose idea was it to create these?
You know, in our fab shop, we done a lot of stuff. even like the Kingsford charcoal people. We done a show car for them. We put a grill in the trunk. It slides out.
Right.
And then when they went to shows and events, they'd raise that up and have a picnic.
Right.
Anyway, just all those things. What was your question? Ask me again.
Whose idea was it to create these?
Well, McDonald's restaurants.
Okay.
They hired us to re-theme some McDonald's restaurants to a race car theme. We done 3 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and 1 in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
We put in show cars, mannequins, jukebox, memorabilia. Their fountain drinks was a pit cart that opened up, and the fountain drinks were inside. We had another pit cart that was clear Lexan with see-through memorabilia. Anyway, what they wanted was a little race car with a car hop tray so kids could have their Happy Meal.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, it was right in the middle of our busiest time ever. So we drug our feet. We didn't get the little car back to them in a timely fashion. And when we did show up with it, it was too big, took up too much floor space. They didn't like it. They changed their mind. So we brought it back home. And it looked more like a bumper car than a race car anyway, be honest with you.
Yeah.
So it sat there, but everybody wanted it. Everybody come in the door and said, boy, I'd like to have that. So I knew it had some value. So finally, we got a little short, or slow in the fab shop, and I told them boys to cut that body off, put a real-looking race car body on it, shorten it up, narrow it up. I want to go through any doorway. And my doctor came in, Dr. John Gatlin in Mooresville. He said, Smitty, what is that? And I told him. And he said, you know, if you left a side out of that, kids in hospitals could get in easy or get off their wheelchair really and get in it real easy.
Yeah.
So we left the side out. Well, everybody in the shop everybody was getting excited about it. Everybody had an idea. He said, well, the steering wheel didn't do nothing. The steering wheel just turned and turned either way, didn't it? But let's put a PlayStation in it and steering and pedals. So we did that. And somebody said, well, big kids and little kids. So we put the seat on a slider. The seat was adjustable. And then the fab guy, he said, hey, I can fix that. He mounted the steering wheel on a hinged platform so big kids could get 16-year-olds. Tommy Johnson Jr. can drive a car. I've done one for Terry Chandler and Tommy Johnson Jr.'s Make-A-Wish funny car. And he got in it and drove it with ease.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
And they evolved. The doctor said put an IV pole and an oxygen bottle on it, and we did, and they just evolved.
There you go.
And there for the longest time, everyone was better than the last one. You know.
That's right.
So
it got better with age.
that's right. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so I love this idea. And do you ever have anyone say, you know what, I want to put one of these at my house?
Or a park.
Well, you know, I have sold one to a gentleman for his grandson to drive up and down the driveway, but he was a handicapped kid. So, and I put one. It never went any further, but I mounted one Dream Racer on a mobility chair chassis.
Oh yeah.
And drive it up and down the street.
That's kind of neat, seeing that little car go up and down the street.
Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit on that. And, you know, everyone that you do that brings a smile to a child's face that's going through that is worth every bit of it.
It really is.
And you have a Facebook page. It's Children's
Dream Racer on Facebook. Yeah. The website's childrensdreamracer.com. Phone number 704 200-8566. Been that number since '05.
So if someone wants to donate, let's say, how do they go about doing that? And, and you tell me that number again too.
704-200-8566.
Okay.
That's 24/7.
All right.
The website again is childrensdreamracer.com. There's a contact page there, and contact me that way. My email address is NASCARpainter@AOL.com. They can reach me by email. Also on LinkedIn under Mark Smith. So I got enough ways you can get a hold of me.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yep.
So they just send you a message, say, "Hey, I want to donate to this," because that'd be definitely a good cause.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just call and there's a donate buttons on the website too.
Yeah.
You can click on donate here, and if they wanted to.
There's all kinds of videos out there too. There's some on there was one on YouTube. You had sent me the link. I think is it 3 Doors Down?
3 Doors Down. They placed 9 Dream Racers. We placed 82 Dream Racers, and I'm going to say it's like 68 to 70 hospitals, because a lot of them, just like Rick Hendricks and Jimmy Johnson, placed 4. 3 Doors Down placed 9. Many of them have 2. So, but the deal is, there's over 1,000 children's hospitals in the United States, and we've placed 82. So we got a long way to go.
Still a way to go.
So there's plenty of room, and everybody that's listening, everybody out there is close to a children's hospital someplace.
Right.
And the good part of it is, the donor chooses the colors, the logos, the graphics, the lifetime advertising. We never take the advertising off the car. So if Randy Marion places a car today, 20 years from now, when the people walk in the children's hospital, they say, "Oh, Randy Marion placed that car."
Right.
You know, so it's lifetime. Where else is there lifetime advertising?
True.
None that I know of.
YouTube.
Oh, YouTube?
Yes.
Is that lifetime?
Like I got the swimming pool and spa logo on the screen right now, and that's
Okay.
lifetime. But no, I agree with that. That is a great, and you know, if you want to look at it like an investment in advertising, but it's, you know, it'd be a tax write-off too.
And it is tax deductible, 100%.
Yep. And the smiles on the children's faces are priceless.
Right. And it goes to the hospital of your choice. You choose your town, your local hospital, not someplace that I pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were watching a St. Jude's commercial, and I told David I used to always donate to St. Jude's.
Yeah.
Always. Just because, you know, the children, they can't help themselves.
Well, you know, and there's some really good causes, like the Wounded Warriors and
Yes.
and pets and dogs and animals and all kinds. But if you can't help those sick kids, who are you going to help?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's me.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know that the amount that you donate is going to go into the car. I mean, it's just the way, you know.
100%.
Do you know about how much the cars cost? I mean, is that something or?
You know, we've been doing this since 08, and have never went up till this year. This year they're $11,000 plus shipping.
And what type of gaming system is on there? Do you know?
PlayStation,
but they're
Still?
PlayStation 4s now.
Okay. Well, that's what I was wondering. It's evolved since the beginning of that.
Yeah.
Okay. PlayStation 4. And that's what they, yeah. Well, I was going to say they also do online racing, but that's probably something else.
It's probably computers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a PlayStation 4, you can do it there.
You can
yeah.
get online with it.
Yeah. If you were to sell it to someone and they had one in their own place, because I could see it too. You know, children's hospitals, that's a great, but you could also do it in let's say an arcade or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Actually, one time it fell through the cracks some kind of way, but a lady contacted me from a construction company that was building a hospital. And they actually wanted to build a big room and place it full of Dream Racers.
Oh.
And she wanted to know all about how big they were and how much they weighed and on and on.
Man, you could do like set up 5 side by side and then have they were all connected and they were all racing the same race.
Racing against each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that takes sponsors and that takes donations.
Yeah. The very first Dream Racers, David and Lisa Ruderman placed that one.
Okay.
And it went to All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I was gonna name some people and thank them.
Yep, we're on to say hey to R.D. Ford is tuned in. He's up in New Hampshire, right, Tracy?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
R.D. Ford, say hello.
New Hampshire?
I don't know.
Rhode Island. You done got me confused now.
Yeah. All right, R.D., I'm sorry, but I always mess that up. Sometimes I used to say Michigan, so at least I've gotten away from that.
Yeah, at least you got the right area.
And yeah, that's right. Jim Dooley. He says, "Hey Dave, you have a NASCAR famous RV to donate." I do have a NASCAR famous RV. I call it a pit box, and it belonged to Robert Yates.
Oh.
Yep, and it was Mike Hilton's before that, and that's what they used. You know, Robert Yates had it out on his farm, out there in Rhonda. Because he didn't have a house, he just had his barn out there. So the RV that I have belonged to him, and that was Nick Ramey's after that. I talked to Nick today. Nick Ramey.
And it also had some of their utensils and silver and all that stuff in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's the gold flatware.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story your listeners will probably enjoy. Most everybody in NASCAR knows what a wonderful guy Robert Yates was. But the people and the listeners probably don't know. One time there was a new team came to town, and I won't mention their name, but all the vendors like me and parts places were selling them parts. Robert Yates sold them the hauler, the race cars, the pit equipment, the shop equipment. Robert Yates sold them everything, put them in business, basically. Well, they didn't pay him, and they left in the middle of the night. Well, Robert had the books, and he knew who was owed, and he see me on the list. And he called me, and he said, "Smitty, I'm going to resell this stuff." And he said, "When I do, I'll get you what I can on your money." They owed me some really big money, like $23,000 or something. And he called me one day. He said, "Smitty, what are you doing?" I said, "Working." He said, "Come over here. I got something for you." Over there, and he gave me a check for $18,000 that he sold his stuff and paid me and other vendors. First people he sold was the guys that worked there that never got paid.
Wow.
And then he paid the vendors what he could. So, wonderful guy, Robert Yates.
Yep. And, you know, I had Richard Yates on here a couple of weeks ago, and he pretty much said, you know, they're all, that they were raised to do the right thing. You know, they were raised, their father was a pastor, or preacher, Baptist preacher.
Yep.
And
here in Statesville.
And yeah, right here. Well, actually his dad lived, let's see, he was a preacher down at Front Street Baptist Church in 1918. And he lived right down here beside Nicholson Funeral Home back then. And and that was how they were raised, that. And Richard Yates also said he don't even know what alcohol tastes like. Never had a drink. Never had a smoke.
Still hasn't?
Still hasn't.
Bless his heart.
I know. How about that? So I said, "Here, you want some?" No, I'm kidding.
No,
I
you
didn't.
did not.
No, I would never think of that until just now. But it was.
I met Richard once. One time he was with Robert, and got to meet him.
Very nice fellows.
But yeah, that whole family is extremely giving. Doug's the same way. Just whenever he sees somebody in need and he knows that he can help, he does.
He helped you with Holly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway.
A few people I want to thank, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Martin Clark with Brown and Miller Racing Solutions. Brown and Miller actually furnishes the tubing and does all the bending for the chassis and the roll bars and everything for the Dream Racers for free. Does it for the kids. Can't thank them enough. And Martin Clark worked for him, and he was my friend since he got here from England. If everybody knows Martin Clark, and I'm sure everybody in NASCAR does.
How does he say his name?
Martin?
Oh, I mean, all right. He came from England, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And you probably know him.
Yeah, I remember that. But I was thinking he talked different.
Yeah.
He said his name, Martin Clark or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Good,
I was
good.
trying to get you to do your best English accent.
Oh.
He
What
says
would
you
be?
put him on the spot.
Yeah, I did.
It would be south of Lebanon, Ohio, somewhere down in Kentucky.
You have a twang to it. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don Stodola, G-Force Racing Gear. They donate the safety harnesses, the window nets, and the roll bar padding. It's a great company, and Don Stodola has been a good friend, and I wouldn't want to miss not thanking him. Dennis Harton and Michelle Baldwin Racing. Dennis was actually with Aflac in the beginning, but he was always with the National Association of Healthcare Underwriters. And they, along with Aflac, have placed 15 Dream Racers across the United States.
Wow.
And just wonderful people.
Are they the biggest donors? I mean, the biggest one?
They probably bought more than anybody, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know the name Kay Ivey?
Kay Ivey.
She's the governor of Alabama.
Okay.
Her and the National Association of Healthcare Underwriters placed a Dream Racer at Birmingham Children's Hospital, and she was so excited to be there, and such a nice lady. If you ever get a chance, look her up, Kay Ivey.
Kay Ivey.
She, the governor.
Yeah. Governor.
What a lady.
Governor Kay Ivey.
Pastor Brad Jenkins, he actually handles most of my business here in North Carolina because I've moved to Arkansas. But he picks up the parts and pieces from Brown and Miller, takes them to the fabricator to build the car, picks the car up, takes it to the painter, picks it up, and painter takes his decaler, and that's his contribution to help kids. So
Yeah. Oh.
he's a wonderful guy, and my pastor.
Yeah. Very good. Nice. Is the NASCAR done anything? Donated anything?
You know, Bruton Smith's Speedway Children's Charities.
Yes.
They placed 2 Dream Racers in New England, New Hampshire, 2 of them in New Hampshire.
Okay.
What's the Masons, the ladies of the Masons? I can't think of that.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I know Daughters of the American Revolution, but I don't know about the Masons
Yeah.
ladies.
They placed one at Shriners Hospital in Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay.
Jack and Allison Hall and Harrison Hall Racing out of Circleville, Ohio, they placed 2 Dream Racers, and one of them is at the Shriners Burn Center in Cincinnati. Good people, nice kid. When he was racing full time, they donated all the winnings to the Dream Racer.
Okay. Wow. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. So, Dickie Dennis is, so I think Dickie went to Richmond, from what I'm hearing through the grapevine. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it or not, but Scott, we were talking about going to maybe go back to Martinsville again. So may do that. When's the last time you've been to a race?
Oh, it's been 3 years now.
Okay.
I used to go to Bristol, never miss Bristol.
Yeah.
Spring and fall, Rockingham, Darlington,
Yeah.
Daytona.
So if you're just tuned in on the radio, we're talking to Mark Smith, better known as Smitty, down in Mooresville. He had his own body shop, paint shop, right down there in the Lakeside Business Park. And so we're talking about the Children's Dream Racers. And so if you would like to donate to that, it's 704-200-8566 is the number to call to make a donation. And they'll place a Children's Dream Racers, what they're called. They're like a little half race car, well, they're a race car, but children in hospitals can have access to get in there and play. It's PlayStation 4 right now, but they're about to come out with a PlayStation 5 as, who was that? I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. Dickie, yeah. I knew that was getting pretty close, getting pretty near. But so what else is, let's see, my last race was Martinsville this past time. But do you ever go, let's say you go to the races and do any type of promotion things for this, because I could see a lot of race fans either wanting to donate or be involved in it somehow,
Well, I never have actually. I take that back. I took a couple of Dream Racers to Bristol, and actually took my golf cart and made a little tow bar, and I pulled a Dream Racer all around the campgrounds and anywhere I could get, showing it off.
Oh,
so I did that one year with it. The newspaper had a write-up about it, but I don't know that I got any sales or anything from it. But we had a good time.
You should have Don Miller set one up down there in the museum, and maybe you could promote it that way.
Well, I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
Some years back, we did a big interview there with Michael Catlow. His name of his show was My Dream Is Possible, and we done it there in the museum.
Okay.
Don Miller let me do it.
Yeah. Does that guy still do a show?
As far as I know.
Okay. My Dream Is Possible.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't heard of that one. That's interesting though. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good concept he's got, and he talks to a lot of different people about what their dreams are. Yeah,
I like to see. I've been trying to think of a show just to have about interesting people that do good things, and so, but just gotta come up with a name and a time for it. Not necessarily racing related, but if it's racing related, that would be good too. Hey, to Danny and Gray's Cards and Toys. They're here in Statesville. So, yeah. We got people worldwide tuned in. Virginia, Florida, and Statesville.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
That's it. And then, of course, tomorrow, people can go back and watch this. If you just tuned in, you can always rewind it and go back and watch again. If you're listening on the radio, you just go to DHammiam on YouTube. But every Monday evening, we have our show here, Racing Roots with Hamm, where we have a new guest to tell us their stories, their past, their racing roots. And it's spelled routes, R-O-U-T-E-S. But if you're where my family's from in Australia, they say it like roots. So it works just fine because it's your whole path. So what else do you have in your notes there, Mr. Smitty?
Kevin Conway, excuse me, placed one.
All right.
I don't know if I missed anything or not.
Well, if you did, you can always tell me, and I could go back and put it in the comments or whatever. Or I might actually go and take a video, and then, like I was telling you earlier, pop up some of the videos that I've seen, and then put them all together with this, to tell a little more about it.
Lots and lots of good-hearted people have really tried to help the Dream Racers along the way. But I'll be honest with you, after the pandemic hit and COVID, we haven't done anything. So I'm just now feel like people are maybe got their feet back on the ground and back working, and hopefully, and so I'm going to start marketing the Dream Racer again, and letting people know about them. Again, the website, childrensdreamracer.com. You can contact me there. NASCAR painter at AOL.com. 704-200-8566. just call me. Let's do one.
Very good. So are you still using this same shop down there, or where are these built?
Chris Passantino, body hanger fabricator guy, he builds my cars in his garage at home.
Okay.
And they're built one at a time, steel body, steel roll cage. Actually have about 160 hours in a car. So,
wow.
But he does them at home in his garage. And another friend up in Rowan County does the paint work on them.
Okay.
And JD does the graphics. Most time, Pastor Brad Jenkins. And by the way, he's running for the GOP House.
Oh, is he?
Pastor Brad Jenkins.
Okay. It's a multifaceted man, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
He's he puts all electronics in them and steering and pedals and all that, and wind and net.
Okay. Yep, sounds good. You know the guy that paints them? We'll talk about that later, I guess. I know a guy over there.
You know, Brad takes care of that.
Yeah, that's fine. All right.
I don't know who it is.
Yeah. Dickie Dennis made a comment. Tracy, you want to read that?
Wonderful is Dream Racers. It's a truly honorable thing that you are doing. I commend you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I definitely. I knew my listeners would love to hear your story and hear about the Dream Racers, and so hopefully I can get involved somehow and try to help as much as I can. You know, because that's something I definitely believe in.
Well, I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. And if y'all want to see any of the videos, you can go on to the Children's Dream Racers on Facebook. I know most everybody in the world has Facebook. So if you go on there and watch, you can see these videos of these kids, and it's just amazing how it probably just takes them away from every ailment that they have at the moment. And they're just, it's just, it's a cool thing. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good videos on YouTube. If you just type in Children's Dream Racer,
yeah,
they'll come up on YouTube. So
yeah. All right. So Jake McVie says, thanks, most touching episode yet. What an awesome program. And they've been some very big hearts people on there. Yeah. And then Cratchity, Will Cronkright. Interesting show. I'm very impressed with the Dream Racers format.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah.
Hope to see you sometime.
Yeah. Well, you can see him in Rockingham. Let's see, on the 23rd, he'll be down there. Yeah, he'll be down there with those guys from Pete Brushy and Rob Bolling from M4Them. So that was our previous guest. So if y'all would want to get in contact, once again, just go to Children's Dream Racers. You can look up Mark Smith on the Facebook as well.
Right.
And then make your donations, 704-200-8566.
Right.
All right. Did you cover all your notes? Did you get everything? Make sure you got everything now. I don't want you after the show say, "Oh man,
I'm with you there."
Forgot something." Who was your favorite engine builder at Roush Yates? All right, take that back. Not Robert Yates, not counting him, or not counting Doug Yates. Well, not counting Nick Ramey. Okay, who else before me? Anyway.
My
That's
favorite
a trick question.
Yeah.
My favorite engine builder. My favorite Ford engine builder.
Yeah.
David Hamm.
There you go. All right. You got it.
He drugged that out of me.
Yeah, you
See?
did.
Now I can record that spot and use it in my promo stuff.
That's right.
All right. Very good. Well, if anybody's got any final questions or parting words, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for tuning in on the radio. As I mentioned, you can come on here every Monday evening at 7:00 for Racing Roots with Hamm, and we'll have a new guest every week. And next week, I'm not really sure yet. We got some possibilities. We're waiting to hear back from some different people. Do you know Stephen Wallace?
Yes.
Okay.
I can tell you a quick story about Stephen.
All right, go for it.
And some other stories.
Yeah.
When Stephen was little, I was always at Penske's at noon. The reason being, Buddy Parrott was Rusty's crew chief, and he left Penske, went next door to Jack Roush.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the guys at Penske had old skeet shooting trap. And they fixed it, and they were lobbing water balloons across the fence over to Roush.
Okay.
The Roush guys built one. Yeah. So every day we had a water balloon fight over the fence between Roush and Penske. Yeah. It didn't matter what I was doing at my shop. At 11:30, I had to stop and go to Penske to fill up the water balloons. That was my job. But Stephen was a little guy, and he had a go-kart. He was riding around that back building and he got a little faster and a little faster. He come around there one time, run up under a holler.
Oh.
So me and a bunch of them guys that was doing them water balloons had to dig him out from under that holler. Thought he was probably dead, but he wasn't.
Sure.
He was all right.
Wow.
That's awesome.
But I done Rusty's work, all his personal cars and stuff, and Steven's work, and one day Patty, Rusty's wife, come up here and brought a check for $3,000 or $4,000 or something, made out to Smitty's. And I thought, they don't owe me nothing. What'd she bring me this? I got to thinking, and finally I called her back. I said, Patty, what's this for? She said, she said, you're the body guy. I said, yeah. She said, that's supposed to go to Smitty's boat repairs. So she come and got it, took it to the boat man.
Yeah. Well, that was honest of you, at least.
She'd been so used to bringing me a check, she brought
to
that
the wrong person.
Yeah, that's funny. Good stuff. So he may be coming on next week. I'm not sure yet. But after that, the week after that, we definitely have Jerry Cook lined up. You know Jerry Cook? He's a NASCAR Hall of Famer now. But
Jerry Cook.
Yep. His daughter worked with us over at Roush Yates.
Cook?
Yeah. Nope. Different person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christy worked with us over at Roush Yates. So I think she's going to come in too, bring the whole family. It's going to be a big party. Yep.
Get a family deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be a good time. That'll be on the...
Pick up a bucket of chicken and just call it a family picnic.
18th? Right. Yeah. That'll be on the 18th. So we'll see y'all. But we'll see you next week on Racing Roots with Hamm. And y'all hit that thumbs up if you like this show, and we appreciate you tuning in. And if you got any questions, come back on here and put them on for us, and I'll go back and make sure that they get answered. Scott says, Scott Trevison says, miss you, Tracy, and say goodnight, Dave. Good night, Dave. How's that? Does that sound good? RD4, thanks for tuning in. And Dickie Dennis, fabulous show tonight, y'all. Good night, all. And that's what I say. Good night, y'all. This is Hamm, and we'll see y'all next Monday on Racing Roots with Hamm.
Real Country 550 and 92.9 WAME Statesville.
For 34 years, Merlefest, presented by Window World.